Namaskaram. Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about the need of including Indian knowledge systems in the modern education system. Why do we need them? And if we need them, what are the objectives of teaching and learning of Indian knowledge system? Indian knowledge systems, which is the pride of our country, is been praised by a number of people across the world from science as well as humanities. Albert Einstein of the 19th century, who is a physicist, recognized the contributions of Indian mathematics, particularly the concept of zero and the decimal system, which are the foundational to the modern mathematics and science. These concepts were crucial for the development of his theories of relativity and quantum mechanics. Werner Heisenberg of the 20th century, who is a master in quantum mechanics, a key figure in the development of quantum mechanics, was influenced by Indian philosophy, particularly the concept of interconnectedness and the idea that reality at a fundamental level is not entirely deterministic. His discussions with Rabindranath Tagore and his exposure to Indian philosophical ideas helped to shape his thinking about the nature of reality. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which states that certain pairs of physical properties cannot be simultaneously known to arbitrary precision, resonates with the non dualistic and non deterministic perspectives found in Indian philosophy. Niels Bohr, who is a physicist of the 20th century, one of the pioneers of quantum theory, was influenced by the ideas of complementary in Indian philosophy, particularly the concepts that are found in Upanishads. His interpretation of quantum mechanics reflects the philosophical idea that different perspectives can provide complementary truths about the nature of reality are worth known, which are taken from the Upanishadic knowledge of Indian knowledge systems. Carl Jung, a wonderful Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, was deeply influenced by Indian philosophy and the concepts of the collective unconscious and archetypes. He explored the symbolism in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, incorporating these ideas into his theories of the psyche and personal development. Jung's concept of the self and the individuation processes was influenced by the Indian idea of Atman, the self, and the pursuit of self realization that is found in Hindu philosophy of ancient Indian knowledge systems. Robert Oppenheimer, the giant of the 20th century physics, who is also known as the father of the atom bomb, was deeply influenced by the Bhagavad Gita, which he read in Sanskrit. The philosophical ideas in the Gita, particularly those related to duty, action, and the nature of the self, had a profound impact on his thinking during the Manhattan Project. After the first successful test of the atom bomb, Oppenheimer famously quoted the Bhagavad Gita. I quote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Similarly, we would find George Sudarshan of the 21st century. He belongs to the field of theoretical physics. Although of Indian origin, George Sudarshan worked extensively in the West and has contributed to quantum mechanics and particle physics, were influenced by his deep understanding of Indian philosophy, particularly the concepts of duality and the nature of reality. His work on quantum Zeno effect and other quantum mechanical phenomena reflects these philosophical ideas. Sudarshan's work is a testament to the influence of Indian knowledge systems on cutting-edge scientific research. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher, not only is a scientist in the traditional sense, but profoundly influenced the Western thought, including science, with his incorporation of Indian philosophical ideas, particularly those of Upanishads and Buddhism. Schopenhauer regarded the Upanishads as the production of the highest human wisdom and they integrated their teachings into the philosophical work. Similarly is David Bohm. David Bohm, 20th century quantum physicist, was influenced by the Indian philosophical concepts, particularly the idea of wholeness and the interconnectedness of all things, which align with his theory of the implicate and explicate order in quantum physics. He was also interested in the parallels between his work and the teachings of Jiddu Krishnamurti, a profound philosopher with deep roots in Indian traditions. Bohm's holistic interpretation of quantum mechanics reflects the non dualistic and interconnected view of reality that is solely found in Indian knowledge systems. Talking about the social scientists and the humanitarians of the West, the very first person that I could quote is Henry David Thoreau, who is a 19th century American philosopher as well as a writer. Thoreau, an American transcendentalist writer, was deeply influenced by Indian scriptural, particularly the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. These texts shaped his views on nature, self reliance, and civil disobedience. Thoreau's famous work, Walden, reflects the influence of Indian philosophy on his ideas about simplicity, living in harmony with nature, and introspection. He also incorporated ideas from Gita into his essay on civil disobedience, which is his very famous essay. Similarly, we find his contemporary Ralph Waldo Emerson. Also belonging to the field of literature, he was a wonderful philosopher and a leading figure in the American transcendentalist movement who was very deeply influenced by Indian philosophy, particularly the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. Emerson's essays include the oversoul and self-reliance, reflect the non-dualistic and spiritual ideas from Indian philosophy, emphasizing the unity of all existence and the importance of self-knowledge. T.S. Eliot, personally my favorite poet, is the American English poet who was deeply influenced by the Indian philosophy, particularly the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. His very famous poem, The Wasteland, which is the epic of the modern age, incorporating the post World War European society, includes references to Indian spiritual concepts and texts, such as the idea of datta, to give, dayadvam, sympathize, and damyata, control, taken from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Eliot's poetry often explores the themes of spiritual desolation, redemption, drawing on Indian philosophy to suggest the paths to spiritual renewal. And it is he who ends his famous epic poem, The Wasteland, with Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi, taking from Buddhism and Upanishads. Hermann Hesse, my favorite novelist, is a German Swiss author who was profoundly influenced by Indian spirituality and philosophy. His famous novel, for which he won the Nobel Prize, Siddhartha, is directly inspired by Indian teachings and the life of Buddha, exploring the themes of self discovery, enlightenment, and the unity of all life. Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha is considered a key text in Western literature that integrates Indian knowledge systems, illustrating the journey towards spiritual enlightenment. Aldous Huxley, the British author and philosopher, was profoundly influenced by the Indian mysticism and philosophy. His famous book, The Perennial Philosophy, discusses the universal truths found in various religious traditions, including Hinduism and Buddhism. He was particularly interested in the concept of Brahman and the nature of consciousness as described in the Upanishads. Huxley's exploration of mysticism, consciousness, and the nature of reality was deeply informed by Indian knowledge systems, which he saw as offering profound insights into the human condition. John Stuart Mill, 19th century philosopher and economist, although primarily known as an economist, Mill was influenced by Indian philosophical ideas, particularly those related to ethics and governance. His exposure to Indian philosophy during his time at the East India Company shaped his thoughts on utilitarianism and liberalism. Mill's idea about justice, liberty, and governance were influenced by a broader understanding of philosophical traditions, including Indian ideas about dharma, that is duty, and the role of the state in promoting the welfare of the public. Martin Heidegger, the 20th century German existentialist philosopher, was influenced by Indian philosophy, particularly the concept of being Sat, truth, as described in Upanishads. Although his primary philosophical influences were Western, his engagement with Indian thought contributed to his ideas about the nature of existence and time. Heidegger's exploration of being and time resonates with Indian philosophical discussions about the nature of reality and the self, reflecting a cross cultural philosophical dialogue. Joseph Campbell, the 20th century comparative religion writer, mythologist, American mythologist, studied the Indian myths and religious traditions extensively. His work on the hero's journey about the monomyth contributes and incorporates elements from the Indian epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, as well as Hindu and Buddhist traditions. Campbell's exploration of universal themes in mythology was enriched by his understanding of Indian knowledge systems, particularly the symbolic and spiritual dimensions of Indian myths. Mircea Eliade, the 20th century Romanian historian uh, and religion and philosopher, is profoundly influenced by Indian philosophy and spirituality. Mircea studied yoga, Hinduism, and Buddhism extensively, and his works on religious studies often include discussions of Indian religious practices and beliefs. Eliade's concept of sacred and the profane and his understanding of myth and ritual were deeply informed by his studies of the Indian religious traditions. Dear students, almost the entire West, whether in science or social sciences or literature, are deeply influenced by the Indian philosophical thoughts and the Indian knowledge systems. So, as we enter into the learning of the Indian knowledge systems, the very first objective of learning it is to understand your own cultural heritage and get ourselves acquainted with the preservation and promotion of cultural heritage of the ancient India. The second objective is to get a holistic education. Remember the story that we discussed in the previous video regarding Ramu and Somu? One of the objectives is to provide a holistic education that integrates ancient wisdom with modern knowledge. IKS encompasses various fields like philosophy, science, mathematics, medicine, arts, and ethics, offering an all rounded understanding of different subjects. This integration helps students to develop critical thinking, creativity, and a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of knowledge, thereby giving to the holistic health in education. The third objective in learning IKS is to develop ethical and moral deep values. To instill ethical and moral values derived from Indian philosophical traditions such as the Dharma, which means righteousness, Ahimsa, nonviolence, Satya, truthfulness, and many more, is the ultimate aim and objective of learning IKS. These values guide us in making responsible and ethical persons, taking ethical decisions in their personal and professional lives. We also develop a strong moral compass, which is essential for their personal growth and for contributing positively to the society. And that's why ethics, which are external, and morals, which are the internal individual principles, help us to do what right is, go on the path of correct, and thereby develop a sort of understanding of distinguishing between right and wrong in life and in society. The fourth objective of teaching Indian knowledge systems is to have a sort of interdisciplinary learning. To encourage interdisciplinary learning by showing how Indian knowledge systems are interconnected with modern disciplines like science, technology, and humanities. For example, the study of ancient Indian mathematics can enhance understanding in modern mathematical concepts too. This approach helps students appreciate the relevance of traditional knowledge in contemporary contexts and promotes innovative thinking. And that's why interdisciplinary learning is promoted. The fifth objective is promoting critical thinking and analytical skills. By engaging the students with the logical and philosophical aspects of IKS, we can achieve this. Indian philosophies such as Nyaya, logic, and Vedanta encourage deep inquiry and rational thinking into individual life, cosmos, and this entire creation itself. We become more adept at reasoning, problem solving, and making informed decisions, which are crucial skills in the modern world. And thereby, we develop critical thinking and analytical skills by learning Indian knowledge systems. The sixth objective of learning IKS is to enhance global competence. To equip the students with a global perspective by understanding the contributions of Indian knowledge systems to the global civilization is the next objective. This knowledge fosters intercultural competence and respect for diverse worldviews. Students become more globally aware and prepared to engage with and contribute to international discourses on science, philosophy, and culture. So, the four dimensions of global competencies. Number one, investigate the world. Number two, recognize the objectives or the perspectives that are present. Communicate your ideas and thereby take action to solve them. Are all developed with a close connection to the Indian knowledge systems. The seventh objective in learning IKS is encouraging innovation and sustainable practices. To inspire innovation by learning from the traditional Indian approaches to science, technology, and medicine, which often emphasize sustainability, holistic health, and environmental harmony, is what is the next objective. We are encouraged to develop innovative solutions to contemporary challenges, particularly in the areas of sustainable development, environmental conservation, and healthcare, which are in correlation with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) given to us by the United Nations, like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace and justice, partnership goals, reduced inequalities, industry innovation and infrastructure, decent work and economic growth, etc., can be observed only with the interconnection between the modern education system and the Indian knowledge systems. The eighth objective of teaching IKS is that it fosters spiritual and emotional well being. To promote spiritual and emotional well being by introducing students to the practices like yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, which are the integral parts of IKS. These practices enhance mental health, reduces stress, and promotes a balanced life. Thereby, we develop a greater emotional resilience, self awareness, and a balanced approach to the challenges of the life. We become more composed and develop both physical as well as mental wellness by getting ourselves connected to IKS. The ninth objective of learning IKS is that it strengthens national unity and integration. By teaching the students about the diverse and inclusive nature of Indian knowledge systems, which embrace different philosophies, religions, and culture, definitely it promotes national unity and integration. Students gain a deeper understanding and appreciation of India's pluralistic society, fostering national cohesion and social harmony, and thereby become united nationally and integrating for a national cause. The 10th objective of teaching IKS is for encouraging lifelong learning. To cultivate a love for lifelong learning by exposing students to the vast and diverse body of knowledge within IKS. The study of ancient texts and philosophies encourage and continuous exploration and intellectual growth. We develop a mindset of curiosity and a commitment to ongoing personal and professional development, which is what exactly the ultimate end of education is, to make us a lifelong learner. And thereupon, each step we cross, we tend to understand as to how vast the Indian knowledge systems is, and we start getting a feeling that there is still more to learn. And what I know is just a speck of a speck. The 11th objective of teaching Indian knowledge system is that it contributes to national and global discourse as well. While preparing students to contribute to national and global discourse, Indian knowledge systems, which includes contributions to science, philosophy, ethics, and social thought, definitely helps in doing so. Graduates who are well versed in IKS can bring valuable perspectives to discussions on global challenges, policy making, and cultural exchange, and thereby we evolve as global citizens. The 12th objective of teaching IKS is to revive the interest in traditional knowledge systems, which is the need of the hour. To revive the interest in IKS by integrating them into modern education is a must, because this helps to bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and contemporary needs, making traditional knowledge relevant in today's world. Students and scholars can contribute to the revitalization and application of traditional knowledge in new and innovative ways. By achieving these objectives, teaching IKS to students today not only enriches their education but also empowers them to become thoughtful, ethical, and well rounded individuals capable of making meaningful contributions to not only the society we are living in but also to the entire world. Thereby, we grow as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Thus, in this video, we learned the objectives of teaching Indian knowledge systems to the students. Number one, preserves and promotes cultural heritage. Number two, it helps in holistic education. Number three, it develops ethical and moral development among students. Number four, it has an interdisciplinary learning. It also promotes critical thinking and analytical skills, along with enhancing global competencies. It encourages innovation and sustainable practices by fostering spiritual and emotional well being. It strengthens national unity and integration and encourages us to become lifelong learners. Not only contributes to the national well being, but also it has a global discourse. Thereby, reviving the interest in traditional Indian knowledge systems is a must. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have enjoyed learning why do we need Indian knowledge systems and what are the objectives of learning Indian knowledge systems. That's all from me today. Meet you in the next video. Bye. Till then.